You mentioned earlier that Bill Decker was at this meeting. What was his connection? Who was he?
Bill Decker was the sheriff of Dallas, and it was real funny. You used to go anywhere in Dallas, and everything was wide open. And if you wanted, we often would go and listen to court cases because there wasn't any entertainment. And Bill Decker, being the sheriff of Dallas, you'd go in his office was open, and everything was free.
Now, you mentioned earlier that Cliff Carter was at this private meeting at Murchison's house.
Cliff was head of the organized crime in Washington, and had been a friend of Lyndon Johnson's for years and years. And Lyndon and Billy Saul Estes was friends, and that's how Billy Saul got involved with Lyndon, was through Cliff Carter.
Okay.
See, when Cliff, he called Billy Saul and he told him that he feared his life. His life was in danger. And again, after he met with Billy Saul, they pulled him out of a cheap hotel at 4 o'clock. But they said he died of natural causes.
Yeah. What was Cliff Carter's association with Lyndon Johnson?
Well, Cliff, when I met him, he was a 7-Up or Coke bottler, Bryan, close to College Station. So it was the mafia connection somewhere. Okay. See, a lot of people do not understand how the mafia or the organized crime, whatever you want to call it, is involved in our government. It's a silent government, you know.
Yeah. Now let's talk about Malcolm Mac Wallace. What do you know about Mac Wallace?
Malcolm, bless his heart. In 1950, Lyndon's sister was going with John Kinzer.
What was her name?
Josepha.
Okay.
And she was a disgrace to the Johnson family.
Why was she a disgrace?
Because she was an alcoholic. They'd put her in sanitariums and dry her out, and she'd go back. So anyway, Malcolm Wallace, I think it was a love triangle, best I can determine. So one day, old Malcolm goes in, shoots John Kinzer, the golf pro.
Is that Doug Kinzer, John
Douglas Kinzer.
Okay.
Okay. Here is a guy that killed in cold blood murder. He went to trial, he pleaded guilty, and he gets a 5-year probated sentence in Texas.
Did he ever go to jail?
I didn't think he ever spent any time in jail, but someone said they did arrest him, but he wasn't in there long.
And why did he get off such light sentence?
Well, we had his name being Wallace. Now this is my theory, okay? And Jim Ferguson, who had been impeached as the governor of Texas, wife was Amanda, wasn't it? Wallace. So the Wallace name probably. And of course, Amanda loved Lyndon Johnson. Years ago, if you had a political end, you could get by with anything.
So the laws didn't apply to these people?
They made their own rules. They lived by them.
Right.
And they died by them, I guess.
Yeah. So Mac Wallace was at this private meeting at Murchison's house. What was his tie to Cliff Carter and Johnson?
Malcolm Wallace was Lyndon Johnson's hatchet man. I mean, there were, I think, about 18, 19 murders that...
So he was Johnson's shooter?
Yeah. And I used to shoot a lot of skeet and trap. Love it. I love a gun today. And I was out at the Dallas Gun Club. And it was a day or two before the assassination. And who was out there but Malcolm Wallace? And this guy was so great. If he pulled a trigger, he hit his target. I've watched him hour on end. And he loved 22s.
So he was a very accurate shooter.
Oh, he was the
marksman.
best. He was a good marksman. He didn't miss. You know, he was found dead in Marshall, Texas. Was it Marshall? No. One of these Texas, Pittsburgh maybe, Texas. And
I understand that it was one car accident?
it was a one-car accident. Again, someone said he had been killed first and then placed in this car. I know the car was picked up and all evidence was removed. I think it was Pittsburgh. That they found him dead.
Okay. Now another very prominent person that was at this meeting was a fellow named Carlos Marcello. Who was Carlos?
He was the big mafia guy out of New Orleans.
What do you know about Carlos?
Other than he was head honcho. But see, going way back when, what year was it of governor? I can't remember now. But Carlos, if they would pay their dues, they could operate, okay?
Right.
And even the Texas Rangers, because of the organized crime, allowed the mafia to come into Texas. Not many people know that.
So that, but as long as they had paid their price.
When they paid the price, they could operate.
Right.
Coke Stevenson was the governor.
Uh-huh.
And anyway, they all political.
Were you ever present when Carlos Marcello met with anyone, Johnson or anyone?
He was at that party the night before the assassination.
But were you ever present at, for example, a carousel when Marcello...
Did I ever see... those people would come into those places, and I didn't pay a lot of attention. I know that before a lot of this hit the newspaper, we were playing poker at the Carousel Club, and Jack Ruby came over, and he said, "You know what this is?" And I looked up. I said, "No, what is it?" Had this motorcade route, and I said, "Yeah, Jack, I know that you run with the Great White Fathers of Dallas. I knew this. I mean, these are things we just flat knew by association." Right. But it stung me that he would be this involved with knowing where the President of the United States. At that time in my life, I thought they were untouchable, you know, the President. So then, of course, the information came out that, you know, about the assassination.
Yeah.
But they published the final route of the motorcade, and Jess Kellum from Austin named Jack Peterball. Jack Peterball, see, there were a lot of agricultural people involved with this assassination.
Right.
And that's primarily because Lyndon was under the gun over some of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Had the assassination not happened the day that it did, and Lyndon Johnson would have probably gone to prison. They would have gotten rid of him. He was so involved with some of this.
Okay, another person you said that was at this meeting was a fellow named Joe Savello. Who was Joe?
He was the head honcho of the mafia in Texas. A real nice person. If you met him, you could never associate him with anything bad. A real nice guy.
Were you ever present when he had meetings with Johnson or anyone else?
He was socially, I don't know what kind of private meetings they had, but socially these people would all meet.
Yeah. Next person you said was there was a fellow named Jack Ruby. What do you know about Jack Ruby?
Well, Jack Ruby was the end guy in Dallas, Texas. He knew everything that was going on. If you wanted to gamble, you could call Jack Ruby, and Ruby would fix it where you wouldn't be raided in those days. If you wanted a contract out on anyone, you could get anyone whipped for $10, $15, killed for $25. I mean, we had contracts. Now, not a lot of people know about this, but that was going on in Dallas, Texas. You could call Jack and have anything you wanted. Prostitution, killing, whatever. He was the head guy. See, when our Henry Wade, that I have known well since he went in the office, the day of the assassination, they were talking about the cheap night club Jack Ruby and he didn't know him. That was a bald-faced lie, because Jack Ruby was in that courthouse almost daily because he brought in drugs, liquor, he violated every kind of law, and he could get by with it. They didn't do anything to him.
You mentioned nightclub. What?
Carousel.
The Carousel
He
Club?
had an interest in some others around, but we would go to the Carousel because of the convenience of it.
What was Jack's real name?
Oh, Rubenstein or something, I don't know.
Uh-huh.
I never did understand that after Jack killed Lee Harvey Oswald, and we wanted to go see him, and they wouldn't let us. They wouldn't let us see Jack Ruby.
Yeah. What about, you mentioned a fellow named Larry Campbell. Who was
he
Larry
the black
Campbell?
guy? Black guy that, was it Hoffa's?
Jimmy Hoffa's?
Jimmy Hoffa's friend.
You know his association with Jimmy Hoffa?
Other than they just interweave, they're interwoven.
Okay. Why do you think Larry Campbell was at this meeting?
Well, he probably took up or played a part that no one knew anything about, and he himself may not have known what part he was playing.
Okay. But he represented Jimmy Hoffa at this meeting.
Yes.
Okay, let's then talk about the people that were at the meeting or at the social event but did not go into the meeting. Who do you remember was in
Well, I
attendance?
remember Val M., the society editor of the Dallas Times-Herald, and that she had written an article about this, and Val M., of course, is presently married to someone that worked or was with the Warren Commission. You can't get her to talk now, but she used to talk very freely.
Who else was there that you can remember?
I knew Shirley Pauling, I knew Val M., I knew Gordon McLendon. Dick Knatzer and Don Newberry were salespeople for Cliff, and I know them very well. I'd like to talk to Helen Thomas because at that time I think she worked for the Dallas Morning News, and she made an affidavit about this party. I would like to talk to her.
Who else was there that you...
I was talking about Cactus Prairie yesterday at KTBC. Cactus was a great entertainer. They often use Cactus to make a party.
Okay, so Cactus worked for KTBC at the time?
He was one of Lyndon's people, and I'm sure still is.
Yeah. What about Neil Speltz?
I didn't know them that
Okay.
well.
But you saw Neil there?
All the press people were always, that's why I was invited, because to make a party. you
Yeah.
know.
Do you remember Dave Blair?
No.
Is that name? How about Ted Powers? Is that name familiar?
Not really.